welcome to the Shift Flow. I am Dani.
And I'm Mo.
This is where practical advice meets spiritual guidance.
We're two individuals with the joint mission of bringing light, love, and healing to the collective consciousness.
This container we've created is an incredibly safe space for us all to have conversations which lead us toward liberation, acceptance, and radical love of self.
So if you found this podcast, if by no accident, you've been guided here because there's a part of you who's ready to stop making excuses and start living the life you've always imagined.
Yes, so join us here every Thursday. We are so excited to have you. We welcome you here with open arms and to your new community. Let's go.
All right, everyone. Well, welcome to the Shift Flow. Dani, how are you today?
I'm doing good. You know, it's Friday. I have 4.5 days left in Utah before I jet off to Austin. And then from there, down to South America. So, you know, previously, right before I left Arizona to go to Costa Rica in April of last year, I was extremely anxious and extremely nervous. And whoever this version of me is right now, she's present and she's kind of just drinking it all in. Yeah. And I don't really have stress, which is so great. You know, it feels really good to just be in that energy that you and I have been practicing and cultivating for the last, 5 weeks is the energy of trust. And it just feels light and easy. So, what about you?
You know, I have been having a weird few days. I've just been like, should I tell him what happened to me? Should I tell him? Yeah. If you think it's too much, I won't. Should I do it? You guys.
I think so.
You guys. So what happened is, I've been sick. I am not well during this podcast, right?
Yeah.
Well, and so I guess here's the message. It's important to listen to your body, right? Mm-hmm. My body was telling me the other day, hey, Mo, you're not feeling great. You need to slow down. And we talk about this all the time. Practice what you preach.
Yes.
And I was just going. I was like, I just have some things I need to do, and then I'll get home, relax. No, my body had different plans. You guys, I like stomach ache. I have a cold. I'm not well. I shit my pants. I was sitting there, and I was like, this was like, I'm going to run home. I'm going to do these things, and then I'm going to rest. No. My body was like, you should have gone home. And so anyway, that's what happens. You know, you don't listen to your body, and your body's like, hey, I'm going to put my foot down. And I was like, okay, so I've been relaxing. Like, this is the most I've done. This podcast, this is the most I've done in the last couple days. It's like, I'm not even ashamed of it. I'm just going to own it because I feel like I am a warning for you. Like, I'm going to admit it. Listen to your body. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So anyway, yeah. So I'm okay, man. I'm just like, I'm kind of tired. I just don't feel great, but I'm like so stoked to talk about your Costa Rica story. I wasn't going to miss this for the world because this is one of the most interesting stories I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I have to show up today. I can't miss, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm proud of you.
Thank you so much.
You shit your pants.
I did.
But
I'm here. The show must go on.
Yeah, exactly. That is just the epitome of the show must go on. I mean, I don't know if I would have been able to show up the way that you're showing up and just be like, hey, it happens.
Yeah, it does happen.
And it's like a metaphor for life, right? You shit your pants and keep going. You
got to keep going, You also have to practice awareness and realize that you have to take full responsibility for shitting your pants. Do you know what I mean? And then you can move on. Like, I did this to myself.
I am actually dying over here. If you guys are watching the video, I cannot stop laughing. There's something about like farting and just just a full-grown adult, like, not having control over their bowels. And I just think I'm sorry, I don't mean to just be laughing.
No, it's so true. No, it is hilarious. And that's why I think it's important to talk about. Yeah. I'm going to own it. I'm like, it's funny to me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm humiliated, but it's hilarious. So I'm going to lean into it and just own my truth. You know?
Yeah, we're gonna lean into everything.
My gosh.
Everything. Yeah. That is what this podcast is about. And you know, there's a couple nuggets to learn from Mo's experience, right? And one of those nuggets is, hey, you know, when you see the warning signs, and this kind of is going to be a beautiful segue into the story, right? When you see the warning signs, when you feel the feelings, you gotta listen. Okay,
you gotta listen.
I just got chills like that. It's interesting. They correlate. Your story and my story, they correlate.
It does.
Right? So, and also, what is your body telling you? Right?
Yeah.
It's speaking to you all the time. You know, and not to make you shitting your pants philosophical, but that is kind of it's philosophical, right? It's a metaphor for life.
If my journey can serve as a story that you may tell for us to learn, I'm here for it.
Yeah. Right? Where are you shitting yourself in your life?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you should ask yourself.
Is what you should ask yourself.
Where are you on the verge of shitting your pants? What part of your life is saying it's time to make some changes, it's time to listen, Right? If not, you're going to be wearing adult diapers pretty soon here. So figure it out.
You're going to be washing a lot of pants.
Talking to you.
Oh man. Or throwing them out. You don't need to go to that length. We can help you.
It's time to lay those pants to rest. Yeah. Lay them to rest. Yeah.
It's time for a new pair of pants.
So I'm feeling great. Mo's feeling not so great. Yeah. And we tend to have this like dualistic nature where she'll bring the energy and I'll be like, I'm working through some really deep shit right now. Or vice versa, right? I'm like, you know, my body's also speaking to me in some ways this week, but I feel great energetically. I feel great spiritually. So I will be here to hold that and to also provide that for you as well.
Thank you, girl.
And then vice versa. That's the beautiful thing about reciprocal relationships is I know if it's the opposite, you'll be there to do the same for me.
Yeah,
so.
For sure. And I'm going to do my best today, guys. Actually, I really feel like this story is going to gear me up. So, like, I really am excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
And, so shall we do it? Shall we start telling the Costa Rica Files?
Yeah, let's do it. And I'll talk a little bit about why I feel now is the right time and what my intention is behind sharing this story is what our intention has been this whole time is to be open and vulnerable, right? And also to bring awareness to what I experienced in Costa Rica. And it's what I'm coining as, in my opinion, there's no good or bad. I don't need to label it as bad. In every experience that I've ever had, there's this incredible wealth of wisdom and knowledge and strength that I earn in these experiences. And I'm here to bring that to you as well and also illuminate the fact that we've said it before, but the dark side of spirituality exists. And there are perpetrators and abusers and people intentionally or unintentionally that are either just dark themselves due to unresolved, unhealed wounds or have some sort of darkness attached to them, or they work with the darkness, or they've literally made a deal with the devil. These things exist. And before we really enter into the depths and all the corners of this story and this world, this is only really going to resonate if you have an open mind and an open heart. You know, these fairy tales and these myths that are tales as old as time hold a lot of truth. you've met people, I'm sure, in your life where you're like, that is an angel of this earth. And you've also said, that is a demon. Mm-hmm. Or somebody resembles like Zelda, and you're like, that you're literally an elf, right? Or somebody has this really like fairy light energy, and you're like, are you a fairy? You know?
Yeah.
And so my opinion on all of these, how do you say, not projections, but reflections of someone's soul is, you can embody that light fairy energy. You can be an angel of this earth. You can also be a demon, and demons do exist. Mm-hmm. And it's just an expression of energy, you know? And so, and of intention, of people's intentions. That's what it is. It's an expression of people's intentions. And if you can channel light and God and source consciousness, then you can channel the opposite. You know, and people have said for years, people making the deal with the devil, right? For what? In exchange for fame or fortune or this or that, whatever they're believing they're getting out of it. That is also true, and that also exists. So I say all of this because I want you to know we're going to that crazy woo-woo side of things. We're going all the way there. And you're absolutely allowed to have your perspectives and opinions and get curious, because I'm not spreading this to be like, I'm a crazy hippie lady that, you know, experienced black magic in the middle of the jungle. I'm not just saying it for that. I'm saying that to expose this for you, so you have education, awareness, and tools before you enter into something like I did, before you know, go into a healing facility or go into a ceremony with plant medicine. You have that education and that awareness so that you can see clearly and listen to your body in intuition. Is this going to be a safe space for me? Do these people around me have my best intentions in mind? So that's how I'll preface it.
I think that's a beautiful lead-in. And I think what makes this story so special for everybody who's listening and important to listen to is, you know, especially if you're someone who's a solo traveler, I feel like, or you know, someone who's, you know, traveling and working at the same, whatever your story may be, you know, there are a lot of opportunities for you to cultivate a really beautiful community and surround yourself with great people. And there's also this side of it. So no matter who you are, and this is if you don't travel, you live right in the middle of Missouri and Kansas, you know what I mean? Yeah. There are potentials for you to get into all kinds of really beautiful positions and situations that are dark and potentially dangerous. So this really applies just across the board. So even though this is a setting that doesn't look like what your setting looks like, just know I would say it exists everywhere. So just also know how to listen to your body and listen to your heart and listen to your intuition.
Absolutely. And take your time. You know, I think that's also to add on to what you said. Listen to your heart, your intuition, and take your time. Nothing that is meant to be should be forced. Mm-hmm. And I think, if I'm being honest, I went full speed ahead in a lot of things in Costa Rica. Yeah. And I was like, let's go! And that didn't give my body or my intuition enough time to be like, to gather information, to, you know, set the stage, to bring these pieces together, to develop that full, you know, knowing, right? Mm-hmm. I did go ahead full speed, and that's a part of my constitution. That's a part of who I am in this life, clearly, based on stories that I have told you and that I've already spoken on, is I have a lot of scorpionic energy. My North Node is in Scorpio, and Scorpio is the zodiac that literally encompasses going to the underworld, learning about the occult, learning about the taboo, sexual things, the darkness, studying the darkness. They're like the phoenix, the dragon, the phoenix that burns itself up and rises from the ashes. And that is my path in this life. So just because my soul can handle it doesn't mean that everybody else's can. And so don't do what I did.
Yeah.
That's another thing is like, don't do what I did. Okay. And we'll get into that. So where should I begin? Should I start with why I chose?
Yeah, I think just in general, what took you to Costa Rica and what your intention was, just for those who maybe haven't heard the story or how we're even leading into these lessons that you learned.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you don't know already, I'm a digital nomad. I'm an entrepreneur. I run my own business. It's mostly online. I'm bringing that into in-person form via retreats and just doing healing sessions wherever I bounce around to, right, with people that I meet, which is really beautiful. And I've had a nomadic soul. I mean, it started in childhood, moving around all the time because of my dad's work. So I've moved in my life, and it's nothing out of the norm for me at all. I really enjoy it at this point. I've moved probably over 20 times in my entire life.
Wow.
And so that kind of set the stage for me loving to get into new environments, new cultures, meeting new people, and all of the knowledge that you gain from that. But what really set me off into my adventure, which happened in April of 2022, was the decline and, accepted and the accepted, I don't want to say failure, but essentially I was in a 4.5-year relationship, and we had known for a while, like, it wasn't working, and that individual ended up cheating on me, and that ended up catapulting me into, well, number one, that's a non-negotiable for me. So I've built, so much of my time, my identity, my life around and with this person. So knowing that was the end, I had to look back at this old self, this old version of me that I had kind of left in the dust, really, in order to receive what I thought was love at the time from this man. I left a lot of old pieces of myself. And so this betrayal and this breakup and this, releasing of home and all of these things that brought me comfort, physical comfort, actually led me to look back on where I had left authentic pieces of me and start reconnecting with them. And so I had left the house. I went to go stay with a friend for a few months, and I started reconnecting with, like, who's Dani? Like, what really does Dani want? Oh, Dani hasn't wanted to live in Arizona since she was 15 years old. And I pushed that to the side for years and years and years, even though every single day I would express it. I would tell people, like, I miss Thailand. I want to go here. I want to, and I never did because I felt so constricted and controlled by my own choosing in that relationship. And so that part of me started to come back online. And it was like, hey, whoa, you're looking at me? That's so crazy. I haven't seen you in like a decade, girl. What's up? And, that part of me speaks like that, right? Because we all have these different parts of us, because that part of me is so free. So free. She's like, I see you've been, settling, girl.
Yeah.
Did you remember me? I'm one of your dreams from like 20 years old, right? 15 years old. And so I started reconnecting with that part of myself. Like, what would it be like to move to Austin? Started there. Like, I love Austin. I want to go there. What would it be like? Right? And then I was like, I love culture. I love being in a melting pot. It even says on my human design, like, I thrive in melting pots on a beach. That's what it says. There's like a location in which you thrive, and it's like melting pot of cultures on a beach.
That's amazing.
And so I was like, okay, Austin, maybe Austin's like end game, right? When Dani wants to settle, when this part of her gets the outlet that she needs. Yeah. And she's like, okay, we can calm down a little bit. Not there yet. But then I was like, okay, where to next? You know, what would be my next option? And then I started hearing Costa Rica. And I actually ended up moving back in with him to just kind of, we had a house together, you know, all my stuff was there. I didn't move everything out. And so I moved back in to kind of get that last piece of confirmation. Yeah. And it was like, go.
Loud and clear. Yeah.
Go! You know, get out of there. And so I started researching, and it was actually really beautiful because towards the end we had a lot of healing conversations, and it was like, because we knew the end was near, like there was a lot of honesty, more honesty than I had ever experienced with him in the whole relationship, and like ownership and accountability, and like, let's make this last piece real good. And researched everything, talked to a lot of people, and a lot of my friends were saying, go to Nosara, Costa Rica, go to Nosara, Costa Rica. And again, this might not be the best choice for you, but I'm very much the person that's like, listen to the messages that are given in my reality, because I know those messages are coming from source, their guidance, right? And get to that place, and from there, you will be led to where you need to go. And so I booked a place in Nosara for a few days, got there, and the journey started to unfold. So.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, it's interesting now talking to the Dani who's about to go on her next adventure, and thinking about the Dani that just landed into her new adventure. Yeah. It's wild to
completely
imagine what you must have been, and what you must have been feeling at the time. What did it feel like to finally land in that place? I mean, because that's a lot of trusting, lots of little moments, and then the big moments of trusting and trusting and trusting, which I think is just important to touch on too, because this isn't common for everyone to feel the pull of their heart and to confirm that pull and say, yes, I'll follow. Yes, I'll continue to follow. And until that light gets bright enough that you're in that realized place that you were imagining.
Yeah.
So how did it feel to be there? What was happening in your mind when you landed?
I love that you asked this question, because this is going to bring some reality into this journey that can also sound like a fantasy in many different ways. It was fucking amazing. Yeah. And also the Dani that landed in Costa Rica versus the Dani now. Yeah. That was what? 8 months ago? Less than? Like 6 or 7? I don't know. I was terrified. You know, as you were asking this question, what came up for me is, if it would have been 20-year-old Dani before she got into a relationship, or 21-year-old Dani before she got into a relationship at 22, that really took her away from her super intuitive side and got her more involved in her logical kind of matrixy 3D side, no offense, but that is how he was. So I actually like developed a lot more anxiety and fear and you know, just things that were present in my environment, and that's not his fault, you know, that's just being a product of your environment, right? I turned a lot more logical and a lot more self-critical and self-conscious because of aspects of that relationship. And so if it would have been 21-year-old Dani, she would have been like, fuck it, we got this. There ain't no worry, because that's what I did in Thailand and you know, majority of my life. But where I was at with the release of the relationship, the experiencing of an unworthiness wound because I got cheated on, you know, never in my life fully financially supporting myself until that moment. Never. All of these things compounded at once created so much stress and so much fear.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Dani that landed in Costa Rica, yeah, she was just so insecure, so scared. Let's say parts of her, not fully, right? Clearly, because if that was her fullest expression, she wouldn't have been able to take the steps that she took in order to get to that point. But there was a lot present, and it was this journey of needing to trust myself, needing to love myself, needing to remember all of these things that were dormant inside of me because of the way previous relationships had made me feel, or the way that I had chosen to accept certain actions and certain words in previous relationships. So she was terrified, y'all. A scared little girl. That's what I say, is a scared little girl when I look back. And it's honestly thanks to the journey that I went through and that I continue to remain on, that I'm here in this moment, knowing that no matter what change, no matter what curveball, no matter what life throws at me, I am strong, I am capable, and I will always figure it out. So why would I worry about the future? Because everything is continuously unfolding, and here I am right now, right here.
Yeah.
So started in Nosara, and Nosara is like the Beverly Hills of Costa Rica. And I want to touch on this for a moment because I think it's pretty messed up. It's a lot of expats, a lot of white people from all around the world that came in to like almost excavate the local community and build their super modern houses with their shit ton of money. And it was the least diverse place I went in Costa Rica, and I didn't go to Costa Rica to be around. I went from Scottsdale to Scottsdale in Costa Rica, you know, like I didn't leave that energy to then find that energy elsewhere. I think it's really great for the amenities and the yoga and the access that it has, right? But it's just like being in the States. And so that made me, and there was this underlying energy of almost like you could feel, getting a little bit emotional, you could feel that darkness in the land.
Yeah.
And you know, the first night I got there, my Airbnb host, who of course they ended up like being from Arizona and meeting at NAU, Northern Arizona. And so, you know, it's interesting how those synchronicities always line up, right? But the second I got there at night. It was all day traveling, and I got there at night, and he goes, "Be really careful. You know, there's a lot of burglaries. You know, a lot of people get robbed here." And I'm just thinking, you're gonna tell me that right now at like 9 p.m. at night when I'm about to go to bed? You know?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, and so there are a lot of burglaries there as well because of what they've done to the local economy. You know, they've pushed the locals out. I could barely afford to stay there.
Yeah.
So I was there for a little bit, and the energy was just it wasn't right for me. And so I started researching other places, and I had people telling me about Pachamama before I even went there. And it's this eco village, or it's marketed as such, and I had friends that went prior to COVID, and so things have changed since then, but I just knew I needed some healing, right? And that's what they were doing there, was offering healing and vegan food and in the middle of the jungle. And so that's where the universe guided me to go next, was this healing eco lodge in the middle of the jungle, just about 40 minutes north of Nosara. And Nosara is on the west coast, the Pacific coast of Costa Rica. And that was the first step of my journey into the dark side. And I remember being so excited and just so ecstatic to experience, you know, maybe plant medicine, which I've been wanting to do ceremonially for years. And when I got there, I had to take a shuttle by myself, and yeah, I'm organizing all of this stuff by myself. And so each step was like confirmation of like, okay, you got this. You can figure it out. You're good. Keep going. Like, you got this. And not to mention, I had animal guides along the way. Have you ever experienced like the imprint of a new animal coming into your awareness, maybe outside, and then you're like, there's a certain energy there, and then you start
feels like
seeing
you're connected
them.
somehow? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, wait, there's something different about this specific bird. I feel like we've got something going here.
Right. Right.
Yes.
And then it'll continue to come back, or a similar bird like that will continue to present itself, or it's a butterfly that you didn't have an awareness of in the beginning. And so for me, before I went on this venture, I started seeing hummingbirds everywhere in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I had never seen them before. Not even the entire time I'd been in Arizona, I'd never seen them that much. And I was like,
there's something going on about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then when I got to Costa Rica, I started seeing hummingbirds. And you know, hummingbirds are a representation of strength and power, and because they're so small, but they can fly such a long distance, right? And they're also really connected to spirit realms. They resemble a higher consciousness. And so I would see hummingbirds when I was going to make a decision, and one of those decisions was Pachamama, and so hummingbirds guided me as well, you know. And I got there, and it had the nature energy of Sedona, like a very like kind of vortexy, healing, uplifting energy when I got there. And I was there in Costa Rica during the beginning of rainy season and through the peak months of rainy season, which is a whole other conversation, very intense. But when I got there, it was sunny, you know, and it felt really good. Mm-hmm. And I remember they had 3 components. You could be a visitor, which is what I was. You could be a work exchange, or you could be a resident. And the residents are people that like literally live there, bought a house there. They do a lot of they live on the hill, kind of overlooking the whole community. And the work exchange are people that live in literal huts. They get fed. It's really sad. They get fed like slop for free. Like it's like broth with some veggies. You know, they don't get access to the food that we got access to unless they pay what we pay for it. And they're the ones running the whole community. They're the ones, like, they're the reason why the community is running, because they're there. And they still pay a nightly fee, which I had never heard of before. If you're doing work exchange, you don't pay a nightly fee. You live for free. So that was definitely a red flag. But I was a visitor. So I came in and I was like, I need this cabin. I need to work. You know, I'm like, in my masculine, I'm like, yeah, I'm here to heal and I can do certain things, but I'm paying you. I need to work. I need Wi-Fi. I need air conditioning, because girl gotta get shit done to keep this trip going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so total opposite of what the energy of that community is. The energy of that community is feminine, rest, cry, sleep, art, you know, and I have no issue with that. But where I was on my journey versus what they kind of want out of you was very just
mismatched.
Not mashing. Yeah.
Yep.
And I remember when I got there, they took me into the office and they sat me down. They're like, hey, like, how are you doing? Da, da, da. What's your name? How long are you here for? 2 weeks. Oh, no. You're going to need more time than that. You have to stay longer.
Oh my gosh. And you had already gotten there and you were like, wait.
And I said, yeah, maybe if it wasn't $1,200 for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But I'm okay. Thank you. I'm paying you guys, you know.
Yeah.
That was the first red flag. I remember the way they speak, it was like, you have to do this. Are you signing up for any workshops? You have to. You're not going to get what you're supposed to get out of this place if you don't.
Wow, like real pushy.
Really pushy. And I was a little taken aback because, you know, I felt like I was just coming out of the city. This is after week 1 in Costa Rica, you know, so I'm still city girl. I'm still third world girl, like trying to assimilate and acclimate to the differences of the way people live there versus where I was, right? It's all brand new for me. And so I still had kind of like that logical, like, no, this doesn't feel right. I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right? However, there was a plant medicine ceremony that night that I got there. And ayahuasca, which I'm showing the serpent that I got tattooed on my arm, ayahuasca the serpent is like the gatekeeper of that medicine. Ayahuasca's been calling me for a really long time. It's another plant medicine, but the psychoactive ingredient is DMT. So it's very intense. It's a long journey. You purge, similar to what you experienced the other day.
Yeah.
So I was being called by ayahuasca, but what they were offering was peyote. And I was so excited. I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'm ready. Let's go. And they're like, are you sure? You just got here though. You just got here today. Are you sure? And I was like, yeah, this feels right. Timing's everything, right? This is perfect time.
That's funny.
So I ended up signing up for a teepee ceremony, which was a peyote ceremony. And peyote is a cactus medicine, a plant medicine, mescaline, right? Used by indigenous tribes all around the world. A lot is present in the United States, actually, like Native American tribes in the States. And let me preface this before we go into the story of the ceremony. There was that thought in the back of my mind, like, something's off here. Something's not right. I could tell by the way they looked. There was no diversity. It was really interesting. It was all people from Israel running the community in the middle of the Costa Rican jungle. So there were a few red flags here and there, and they said you have to talk to the shaman today and he's going to educate you on the medicine before you go into ceremony tonight. I said, okay. And so I put my stuff down in my cabin, which looked nothing like the pictures online, by the way.
Oh my gosh, really?
There were bugs everywhere. Everywhere.
Wow.
Mold. It was really intense. And that's not uncommon for a rainy season in Costa Rica. And I walked back to the community, went to this little wild treats area, which I loved that place. It was like a juice bar, and they had all this organic food and treats and stuff. And went to sit down with the shaman, who I didn't really ask any questions. This was my first time ever experiencing anything, and I had the thought process of, or ever having the option to participate in an experience like this, and I had the thought process of, oh, it is what it is. It'll be what it will be, and I'll be great. I don't really need to know too much about the medicine. I'm not too familiar with mescaline or peyote. I'm just going to go for it. So I sat down with him. Everybody else was asking questions around, like, what's going to happen? Like very fearful. But I knew that I couldn't control whatever I was about to experience. So for me, there was no point in really asking questions. In hindsight, I would have gotten more curious about the medicine, the shaman's experience, the shaman's education, where he got it from, and his intentions when opening space. And I would have tried to connect with him more energetically and read him, so to feel if I felt safe in his energy.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does, yeah, and I think that's a really big note for everybody who's thinking about doing these types of things, because I think sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, or sometimes you're just like, I'm going to be fine,
Right.
And so there is a little bit of a balance for those who are thinking about having some type of ceremony especially led by other people in the presence of people that you don't know. What does that look like? So what do you think before we continue, what do you think are some really good questions? I know you talked about a couple, which are like, what are the intentions when someone opens up that kind of a space? And,
right.
You know, what else do you think would be good for people to think about?
Yeah, I would say for me personally and ayahuasca, I've been researching that medicine for years, watching documentaries, listening to podcasts, getting curious, looking online, researching the medicine, the different origins, how it's practiced differently from country to country. And I didn't ask that.
Yeah.
And so I also didn't ask myself, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
You know, it was very much like, go for it, get it, let's go. I was in fight or flight at least the first month and a half that I was there. And so I didn't ask him questions around like, okay, so, you know, what is the origin of this medicine? Can you tell me more about it? What does mescaline do to the brain? What can I, you know, like, how is this going to affect my physical body?
Yeah.
Right. And I think for some people, it is good to think about all of the potential outcomes, right? So if you want to get curious about what can go right and what can go wrong, right? What can I experience that's not experience, I mean with your physical health. What can go right? What can go wrong? If I'm on medication, that's a huge one. If you're on medication, you shouldn't, there has to be some sort of therapist or doctor present. That's another really great question. Who do you have on call that's here to support if there's a medical emergency? Didn't ask that. There wasn't anybody.
Mm-hmm.
How many people are going to be in ceremony? That is massive. Because you are so vulnerable. You are so cracked open. Your spirit, your soul is so accessible. This is not to incite fear, y'all. You're powerful as well, you know? But this is to show plant medicine is a word right now to get all the clicks, all the views, all the you know, it's clickbait, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very attractive right now. What I don't hear a lot of podcasters or creators or healers or influencers talk about is what can go wrong, or that you shouldn't be using this tool for escapism. You should be using this tool every once in a while when you feel like it is fully aligned, when you feel like you're in the proper state mentally, physically, emotionally. You should be doing work prior, leading up to connect with the medicine, to ask yourself questions. None of these things was I doing with peyote. I didn't even connect with the medicine itself, you know, like writing a letter to the medicine. What am I supposed to be connecting with you? Is it our time? Do you believe that I will benefit? Do you want me to receive you? Do you want me to connect with this ancient spirit, right? Because sometimes the medicine will chew you up and spit you out if you're not actually ready.
Yeah.
And so that's a long list of questions. I would definitely recommend asking your shaman, your facilitator, before you go into any psychedelic journey. And then get curious about your facilitator. Don't feel like you're asking too many questions. Don't feel like you're too much. This is your body. This is your brain, your spirit that you are going to be manipulating. I just got the loudest ping in my left ear.
Really?
Like it just went.
Oh my God. What do you think that's from?
Spirit, 100%. That's confirmation. We're
that
supposed to be having this conversation.
Yeah.
I haven't had something like, I was having a lot of that in Costa Rica. When you get like a ping, it's an energetic download. Yeah. Sometimes it's like wompy. It's like whoa, 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 whoa. and then sometimes it's like, and the womp is like lower vibration. The pings are higher vibrational beings or energies trying to communicate with you. So
that's cool.
That was really trippy. I think that's confirmation for me to go into get curious about your facilitator. You know, he had a very laid back vibe and he seemed like a chill guy, and I think he's good. But I don't think he has the credentials that I would have wanted in hindsight, you know? And so it's about making sure that you feel really good in their presence. It's about asking their intention. Why do they do this? You know, what are they trying to facilitate? And what is their desired outcome, right? And it takes a few days, you know, it takes a few days to really understand what impact somebody's presence has on you. So meeting with him for 15 minutes and then going straight into ceremony that night is not a good idea. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like that encompasses a lot of, and not all, but a lot of like the pre-work that you should do. Yeah. With the medicine. You know, ask yourself why, talk to the medicine, do the research, talk to the shaman, figure out how many people, again, are going to be there. It turned out that there were 80 to 90 people in ceremony with me. Oh my
gosh, that's intense. Okay. I have a feeling I know how that energy was feeling for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You just felt it.
I did. Yeah. That made me panic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So before we went down, which we walked down this like huge hill down to the Maloka, but I had connected with the girl there. I guess I just won't say their names. Previously, we just had formed a good connection right away, and she came into my cabina. We were just hanging out, and she's like, "They want you to wear skirts. They want the women to wear traditional dress." And I was like, I just got chills, and that just made my eyes tear up a little bit because I was like, "What? What do you mean they want me to wear something specific?" And I said, "No, I'm wearing pants. I'm wearing this shirt. I'm not wearing traditional dress, whatever that means. You don't get to tell me what I'm doing, what I'm wearing for my body." And so I dressed it. That was a red flag. You know, that was definitely a red flag. That made me get really curious. And I'm so grateful for this moment that I had right before we went down, because the ceremony started around like 8:30 and goes all through the night until the morning. And I'm so grateful that my dad called me right before. And he said, "What's up? Like, how's it going? Where are you at?" Told him everything. Described the place a little bit, the people. I was enthralled at this point. I was like, this is amazing. Everybody's so lovely. And that's kind of the vibe that everybody's in there. They're like, whoa, everything's so great. Like, I'm so grateful to be here. I'm in the most beautiful place in the world. I was in that for a little bit. And I told my dad, and he said, "Is it a cult?" And, you know, I've heard of cults, right? It's not like I have not heard of them, but it's like the naivete, right? Where you don't want to really believe that it's real. And you've never seen it, so you don't have evidence to support it. And so you're just like, okay, I've heard of these things, whatever. I'm never gonna experience anything like this in my life. And I said, "I don't think so." And he said, "Is there a leader? Is there like a master?"
Oh my God.
I said, "No." And then I turned to to my friend that was in my room and I said, hey, is there a leader in this community? And she said, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
There is. And so that was the universe dropping a little bit of reality check. Implant this into your subconscious so you don't go in there fully open. Protect yourself a little bit. There's some weirdness going on. It was like the two things that happened with you have to wear like a long skirt and traditional female dress. And is it a cult? And so I was like, I'm still going. I was like, let's go. You know, like that rebel.
You're like, I need a life change.
Super curious. Yeah. I'm like, I'm still going for it. And also, I'm curious. You know, we'll see what I find out. Yeah. And so we gathered like a couple overnight things, and they were telling me like it's in a teepee, it's in a maloka. I didn't know how many people were going to be there. And then we got down there, and you grab this chair that you sit on the ground with. It just has a back and like a little, it's not comfortable at all. And you have to sit there the whole time.
Wow.
You can't move unless you're going to vomit. And
that's like intense.
I don't know if it's like, I've heard that there are many ceremonies where you can move, you can get up, you can kind of walk around, stretch, whatever. They were pretty adamant about not moving. And so everybody sat down. It took a while. I sat next to my friend and then this other guy who was just like such a sweetheart, loved his energy. We got really close, and he was a good friend, and, you know, we still communicate to this day. I also want to say, like, not everybody here was evil. You know, it's not like everybody had impure intentions. But when it comes to the facilitators and the leaders of this community, I don't feel that the intentions are pure. And I'm not the only one that experienced this. I have witnesses. I have other people that are on the same page as me. This isn't just Dani's perspective. This is, you know, perspective that many obtained through their experience as well. So we sat down, and, you know, they're talking about the medicine and just starting to kind of open circle. And at the beginning they said, because there's a hole, it's this beautiful structure, this massive wooden structure, and there's a hole right at the top, and they had a fire right at the bottom, so the smoke was leaving the hole, and they had fireworkers. This was really cool. The fireworkers would create art with the embers of the fire.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and so they would make like a phoenix, and I would like open my eyes and see it and then go back, and it was really beautiful. Really beautiful. That aspect was really beautiful. And they had people coming around and you know, limpia, like cleaning you with smoke with copal and palo santo. And what I had heard in my experience about listening to plant medicine ceremonies is that there are shamans that come around and help you and give you energy work. And if you're struggling, or if it's your first time, they will assist you. They will be there for you. And so that was what I thought was going to happen. And so at the beginning, with the hole in the roof, they said, we're opening a portal. And you can open good portals, you can open bad portals.
They didn't tell you what kind of portal?
No. They said, we are opening a portal for an offering. Okay? Wow. And I was like, what? What's a portal? You know, I learned a lot about portals with my experience in Costa Rica, but I was just like, hey, yeah, that's like normal magic, right?
Yeah.
Thinking magic is magic, which is light and fairy dust and sparkles, right?
Yeah.
And they like started by saying prayers. There's something about the water there. They would always say, they all have the same accent, you know, they're from Israel. And so they would say, the water, we have to praise the water, like, thank you for the water. Something like they would say the same thing over and over again. And then I started to realize, like, they were programming our subconscious. They would say like the same chants, the same thing, do this, do that, stop doing this, keep doing this, go here, go there, left, right, up, down. Red flag for a cult, right? And then they went around to distribute the medicine, and, you know, I focused on my intention, took the medicine. It's this powder form. They put it in your hand and you eat it. Just thinking about it, similar to people that I know that have done ayahuasca, like that, and that tastes so bitter, so foul, that you will always remember it. You will always remember it. And so ate like the first handful, everybody else ate it, and then, you know, the journey began, right? You close your eyes, you sit back, you can't move.
Oh my gosh.
It was painful. I was in physical pain, like I was experiencing burning towards the end of that. Yeah. And so I closed my eyes, and, you know, I'm allowing the medicine to process. I'm not really worried about anybody else. I'm not really protecting my energy by any means. I'm trying to solely focus on myself, not stress out about the fact that there's like close to 100 people, not stress out about the fact that the leaders who are all sitting in one specific area gave me weird vibes, like just trying to focus on me, right? And the medicine.
Yeah.
And so I would say time kind of dissolves, right? But about an hour in, like not feeling too much, but kind of feeling it, they came around, they gave us a little bit more, and they continue to give you more as it progresses. I would say about 2 hours in, my eyes were closed. I wasn't seeing too much, just a lot of colors. Like the medicine wasn't really affecting me visually in the ways that I've heard ayahuasca does. Or mushrooms even. But, you know, I was going on my own emotional journey, trying to relieve some of the baggage that I had taken with me from everything that I had left in the States. And the musicians are playing the whole time, and they're singing songs in other languages, and they're right next to me, right here on the ground. And this is the moment that everything changed. I started to get nauseous because you do purge, or sometimes you do. Not everybody does. And I was just holding it. I was going to get up and purge. And to just like close your eyes and feel this with me. The female singer started speaking and singing in tongues. And the way that I can describe it is how it affected my nervous system. I got this crawl under my skin when she was like, in tongues. And in that moment, I open my eyes and I hear something's not right. And I am like immediately guided in that moment to shield up, snap out of it, don't take any more medicine. Something is not right here. And I look to my left and her eyes are closed and she's like in this dark,
that
dark
sounds
energy.
scary. Mm-hmm.
It was, and don't get me wrong, like there's shamanic, I'm very familiar with like shamanic music and how they can be like, oh, you know, like very deep, but the energy she was channeling, my nervous system immediately said,
it knew.
There's something off. And there were a couple of instances after that and other things that I had participated in where they started playing really creepy music. And so immediately I snapped out of it. I look around. I shield myself. I hear protect yourself. And I'm like, whoosh, you know, like my energy protection. And I look around and people are like this.
Oh my gosh.
Just like, you know, just in their own thing.
Yeah.
And I could feel that there was energy being pulled from me.
No.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay.
And that's happened to me before in other occurrences.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to vomit. I get up. I walk around the fire, the circle in the center. We're all sitting around the fire in a circle, a portal.
Yeah.
I get up and I walk around the fire and I go to the little holes that they dug outside to try to throw up, and I just couldn't. Like I couldn't couldn't allow myself to surrender. I couldn't allow myself to, in that environment, release control. I was like, there's something not right. So I couldn't even throw up. And one of the security, there were two security guards, came up to me and he was like, you need to go around the fire the way that we intended you to.
Oh my gosh.
Like, yeah, right? I'm like scared. I'm going through this realization that something's not right. I'm about to vomit and this guy's coming up to me to yell at me.
Yeah.
Because I went the wrong way around the fire. And so none of this is feeling like a loving, supportive environment. None of it. I'm like, where is the love? Where is the feminine? It doesn't feel
about you either.
No.
It's feels about like the money. You're a part of something.
Right.
Else
a part of
entirely.
Their type of ceremony. Whatever they're doing.
Whatever that was. Yeah. Wow.
And so I go back to my seat and I'm just like, I'm not taking any more medicine. This is just not right. Time passes. There were specific guys behind me that I saw right at the beginning of ceremony. And I knew in my mind, I was like, they don't have good intentions. And they were sitting behind me. And so like all of these dualistic energies of like pulling and this music and this guy, I can feel his energy and like, I felt so unsafe. My soul, my spirit, my higher self was like, get the f- out of there, girl. Yeah. And so I go up to one of the women and I'm like, I'm going to go. I don't want to be here anymore. I've stopped taking medicine. And she said, no, you can't leave.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm starting to get emotional right now because I was so scared in that moment.
Yeah.
I was so scared. I had no idea what was happening. I just knew that something was wrong. Mm-hmm. And they weren't even giving me the right to leave when I paid them to be there.
Yeah.
And I just teared up because I'm connecting with that past version of myself. I forgot how terrified I was, and I had nobody that I really knew, nobody that I really trusted. And I leaned into trust and faith, and it got me in this situation, and I should have been allowed to leave. And so I just stayed there, and I protected myself, and I didn't participate. This is how you know their intentions are not pure. Because number one, when you're under, this is something really important to know. When you're under the influence of psychedelics or any substance, you're puncturing holes in your auric field. So you are more accessible to other outside forces and energies. When you're in the vibration of shame and fear, you are more easily controllable. You are more easily manipulated. This can be mind, body, or spirit. So they would go around and the leaders would say their prayers. And one of the leaders, I'll leave his name out of it, he grabbed the mic, and the shaman, the facilitator, he was like, okay, here, it's time for him to say a speech or a prayer. He said a prayer. Okay. This is how the prayer went. I'm so ashamed of how we treat this planet. All the visitors come in and they leave all of their trash and they're absolutely destroying this earth. Have you ever thought about what's going to happen to the children? Shame, 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 shame. And I was like,
what the?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That went on for probably 20 minutes. So they put us in fear. They put us in shame. What the do you think they're doing to us? Yeah. They open a portal, right? It's clear as day. It's clear as day. They are energy siphoning us. And they're also using it as a money machine, which already creates impure intentions in the energetic environment.
Yeah.
And it just continued. It was them going around talking about how terrible of people we are and how we ruined this planet and how we have to do better. And I'm like,
this isn't the time for that conversation.
Right. Exactly. And so had to deal with that. Yeah. And I was just in tears. I was just in tears for hours at that point. And I was just like, I want to get the fuck out of here. What do I do? Like, I can't leave. They're not letting me go. Like, why is he putting me in a shame spiral? This is not what I've heard of. This is not what I expected. Not that anything ever met or lives up to your expectations, but you're not supposed to be creating a container of shame. Mm-hmm. And it felt like I was there for days.
Wow.
And the sunlight started to come up and I was exhausted and just feeling terrible. And it wasn't until like the last lady said her prayer and then they did cleanings with smoke and I was just utterly drained.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that I stopped taking the medicine because I listened to my intuition and I just was like,
yeah,
I felt empty.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Like a bag of bones by the end in the morning.
Yeah, because you can't sleep.
No.
When you're in that kind of a fear state.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And you can't sleep. No, you're not allowed to sleep in ceremony.
Yeah.
Either, right? So it's like, and
there's no escape. You have to stay in your chair that's uncomfortable and while you listen to programming.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Your subconscious is so accessible and so vulnerable in that state. And so they were using that to program the community to be like, we need to do better. We need to operate in this way. We need to, right? And on top of that, it was clearly a ceremony to siphon energy.
Yeah. Serve their intentions.
Yes.
Alone.
Exactly. An offering to whoever they praise, wherever this goes, right? And around like 8 a.m., I was like, I'm leaving. You can't stop me. I got like the Olympia. I got cleaned with smoke, and I'm like, I'm out. I'm going. And so I started walking up this hill by myself, and it was such a treacherous walk. And this guy pulls up on a quad. He's like, "Hey, you want to ride?" I'm like, "Yeah, take me, please." And I feel like there's no other way to describe it. It was soul trauma. I felt like my soul was literally out of, like, it wasn't there. It wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I saw one of maybe he wasn't a visitor, but he's somebody that had been coming to the community for a while. I saw him at the top and he was getting food for everybody. And he was like, "Hey, like, what's going on?" Super genuine guy. Turns out after that ceremony, he ended up leaving too because he felt the same thing. And he had been coming to this community for like a decade, you know? And so he gave me food and I went back to my cabina and I just slept. And I had nightmares.
I'm sure.
Nightmares. And I think I slept until like 1 or 2 p.m. that day and woke up and I just was still like... But in my mind, I was like, maybe this was the medicine, right? The denial kicks in, right?
Yeah.
The denial kicks in and you're like, no. I didn't even really know too much about it. This is all my perspective now with the knowledge that I've gained. I was like, no, yes, something was off, but they weren't intentionally doing something to us. Like, this is just me healing. It's just me healing, right? And I could not stop crying. Because it felt like a piece of me was broken or gone or missing. I could not stop crying, and I went out to Wild Treats, and I was just... I've never experienced where hours and hours and hours and hours of crying and not being able to stop. Never.
Yeah.
Like, typically I'm like, okay, like, that's good, but it was like completely out of my control. And I was so cloudy. And like I said, it felt like my consciousness was not there. And as the days went on, I started to feel better, but I could not wake up in the morning there. I couldn't get out of bed past or before 8:30. Like, I would wake up and I have never had the physical pain that I had when I was staying there. I was having nightmares, which equal psychic attacks. I was, I went through this ceremony. I was seeing all of these really vulnerable women come in, and these two men in the community that would try to target them and be sexually aggressive with people. Like, it was all starting to add up that this place is 100% a cult. And if you stray away from the norm, if you're a free thinker, if you're not in alignment with every little thing, if you're not participating in every little thing, you were shamed.
Wow.
So I started having this perspective, and that's where I met Izzy, one of my best friends. She was doing the work exchange. And I started, she saw me when I was sobbing after ceremony, and she said that she saw me, and she was like, I know that's going to be my sister, but she's crying her eyes out right now, so we'll talk one day.
Yeah.
And in the next couple of days, I met her on the beach, and we ended up talking, and she had been there for months previously. And in talking to her, she was having a lot of revelations about the place, and she had told me that in ceremonies previously, people had fainted, and they wouldn't let them leave.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I wonder what it makes me wonder what because I'm sure you had to sign all kinds of paperwork or something.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I signed paperwork when I got there.
And so what's scary about some of these types of things too is, it's when you think about going and traveling, everybody's gone and had some type of experience, and you kind of just sign the paperwork because you want to have the experience. You're like, yeah, that's what I'm here for. So I'm sure it covered not being able to leave, which made you feel even more trapped.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I couldn't leave because I probably spent $2,000 in the span of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I already spent $1,000 on my first place. So I just dropped I felt trapped because of the money. I wasn't going to not stay there. Like I said, it was rainy season. So when it would rain, there would be bugs that would enter into my windows, and I spent hours at night sweeping these bugs out of my place.
Oh my gosh.
You know what the crazy thing is? Because clearly they're practicing dark magic. We're actually going to go back there, and we're going to start documenting places like this to bring awareness and to create some sort of docu-series around places like this around the world, because the last thing I want, and you know what's really great about the position that I was in, is that I didn't go there because I just got raped or sexually abused or whatever. These women that were going there were so vulnerable.
Yeah.
So vulnerable. And 2 men in that community were extremely aggressive. And I was the only one calling them out. They were predators. And I'm sharing all of this because we are going to illuminate as much as we possibly can because of the experience. Izzy had she had a very difficult experience because she was there for months, and you sign this paper, and if you break that contract, you have to pay a certain amount of money to leave. And the women, when you're in that state, when you're that vulnerable, when you're that bruised and battered because of trauma or what hands you have been dealt, you are looking for somebody to just tell you the way.
Yeah.
For somebody to say, do this, go here, do this, do this, do this. And then before you know it, you're sucked in and you don't even realize that you're in a cult.
Mm-hmm. Especially, I mean, you know, what's interesting about your situation too is you weren't running. You were very intentional about going to Costa Rica. Mm-hmm. You were also you were transitioning your energy too, which I think is huge, you know, coming from urgency culture, coming from an emotionally abusive relationship. You know, you had a lot of vulnerabilities to you as well, you know, and you were in a place where you so much wanted to heal. And you so much wanted to do that work, and you so much wanted to connect to your inner self and begin that journey. You were ready, you know?
Yeah.
And it sounds like those people were ready for that. And that's exactly who the audience is.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so scary, because when you are in those places, you're ready to do anything, you know, you're just like, whatever it takes, you know, whatever it takes. I just want to, and when people are being kind to you, and when people are, you know, offering to you the exact types of words they know you need to hear, the exact types of support they know you're looking for. There are people who are masters of manipulation, whether it's at a cult like you experienced, or
through the lover that I experienced as well. Through
the lover you experienced, or even, I mean, there's even some religions, you know, even, you know, just here in the Midwest, every religion, every church, there's always, speaking of duality, there's always those who use it for good and are there with a pure intention, and there are always those who don't. And so there's manipulation everywhere, and it's so important, because when you are in those places that you're ready for feeling better, whatever that looks like, whatever form it takes, you're seeking, and they're waiting. And so you know, it's my next question I want to talk to you about is the lover that you had, and I know that this conversation is probably a different podcast, you know. Maybe the next question that I would have is, so what was your next step at that point? How did you move forward? You know, what's really amazing is you had all these realizations, your eyes were open very soon. You'd already made a commitment to be there. You were on some level feeling, or many levels, feeling trapped. How do you navigate from there, knowing that you know, what's the way out, you know? It feels like a prisoner is trying to escape, you know? What was your escape route?
Right. The difference is I was only there for 2 weeks, which felt like a lifetime. Yeah. But in many ways I was in control. Because I was kind of the outsider that was there to me. Like, I was, you know, I made beautiful connections and like people I still connect to. But I was also kind of the one that was like, you sure
whistleblower.
Yeah, I was the whistleblower, literally. I was like, that doesn't seem right. You know? And the energy was felt. Let's put it that way. The energy was felt. And at the risk of sounding righteous, I've had to do many sessions around this. I've had to time process. I've had to release. I've had to let go of anger and fear and all of these things over time. But I did what I do best, was I deny the super negative until I'm outside of that environment, and I focus on the positive. And the positive was the connections that I was making, the food, the nature. There was a lot of positive there. So I focused on that. I focused on what I could control in that moment, what I could do, the seeds that I could plant within that community. And at the risk of sounding righteous, I've had, you know, a couple healers say this to me, like, I came there to illuminate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was literally divinely
it was part of your story.
Because the angels know Dani's strong enough, right? Like another one. Oh, she's got this. We need her here. You know, and I don't want to say like they, you know, but I will say there was a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Because of what I was not afraid to express. And I didn't express fully. I wasn't like, this is a fucking cult. It was like, maybe you guys should look at this. Nobody should be telling you what you should and shouldn't do. Nobody should be telling you what you can and can't do. You know, nobody should be dictating your life. Have you thought about what this does to your subconscious? Like, do you feel like you put them on a pedestal, right? And when I left, this is the trippiest thing ever. I left and I went to Samara and I started my, like, got my own place. Well, I was in my own place the first 3 weeks, but got my own place, and it was called Casa Morpho, which the Morpho butterfly is that beautiful bright blue butterfly, another one of my guides. You know, the one I have tattooed on my ribs that I got at 18 years old. That's a whole other story, but got to this, like, beautiful bright blue house, had a loft, and it was just perfect. It was perfect. And Izzy would come visit me. Because you were allowed to, like, leave on the weekends, even though they'd be like, why would you leave Pachamama? What are you doing? They would give you so much shade. But Izzy would, like, give me the downloads of what's going on. And after I left, I don't know what the happened, but there started, a lot of shit started to happen in the community.
Wow.
Like, a lot of people recognizing the perpetrators, a lot of people... Izzy started having issues with her cabin. Her cabin got infiltrated with bees, with bugs, and she was telling them, yeah, she was telling them for a week straight, hey, do this, help me, I don't have a place to sleep. And they weren't doing anything about it.
Oh my gosh.
And so our theory was, they know we know.
Yeah, they want you out.
They know we know.
Yeah.
And I was calling one of the guys out, and I was like, you know, it was just, it was kind of like, it sent this ripple effect of like, this isn't, like, everything's perfect, everything's great, and there's a certain look that these people had in their eyes. Like, they were like, under a spell.
My gosh.
Mo.
Weird.
And Izzy would have that, and then she would come see me, and then it would, like, dissipate. And then she would go back, and then she'd be like, you know, it was... There's energetics of this place that they have put, and you can just feel it. You can just feel it.
Yeah.
And so things started changing. Apparently, like, the leader ended up leaving.
Wow.
It wasn't right after. The leader had left prior to me coming there. And so that's why things have shifted. I think this place was built on pure intentions. Something happened in 2020. And then the leader was like, y'all are on your own. Like, this is not what I created. He's no longer really a part of the community. And so, yeah, I mean, the more that I had to, the more time I spent apart, the more I had to realize, like, how bad many parts of it was, the darkness that was involved, what could have happened to my soul in that ceremony. I started realizing the really inappropriate sexual things that the men were saying to me that I didn't speak up in the moment about. And it was just like realization after realization after, I can't believe I went through this. I can't, you know, and that processing that inevitably led to a passion of, I am creating spaces where that will never happen to you. Because the last thing, I can't fathom thinking of how many women have gone and how many women continue to go there and get assaulted or taken advantage of. I mean, one of the guys who was literally a perpetrator told me to my face that he had done something to a woman friend that was sleeping in his bed without her permission, and she got the grief and he didn't. He told me he assaulted somebody and he got away with it, and the community supported him. And he said this to me. He said, "Is this how it is for women?"
What?
I was like, yeah, there's so much. It's like the memories are coming up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's all in plain sight, you guys. And it did breed this new fire, this new passion to create these retreats for women in particularly, and also men one day. But right now my focus is women, and supporting and helping them to heal and feel really, really safe, and to bring awareness so that they know the signs to look out for when looking for this type of place.
Wow. I feel like energetically I went on that journey with you. Mm-hmm. You know, it is incredible how you were able to be present and advocate for yourself even when you were scared. I think that's something that I know there have been times in my life where things were happening that I didn't consent to exactly. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And also I felt equally as if I was responsible for putting myself in that situation. Not that you did or anything, but I'm saying, like, I also felt like, well, I'm here. And like, there was this like confusion a little bit. So it wasn't an immediate, you know, confirmation that this isn't right, even though my body was for sure telling me it wasn't right. And I just think it's so important to talk about how you might feel scared to speak up or say something or decide that you're no longer going to participate. That's exactly what you did. And I think this is an important piece to talk about, because I feel like often when we're in those types of situations, you've just heard before in the past, be an advocate for yourself, but you don't know what it really looks like till you're faced with doing it. And it's kind of hard. I mean, it's not even kind of hard. It's like really hard sometimes. Yeah. Did you, even though you, like, of course there was that moment you're like, all right, I know what's going on now. You know, could you maybe can we talk about those confirmation moments that you had and just maybe just your overall feeling now of maybe not every single piece of, you know, every single piece of the story, but like overall, like a general thought on listening to your intuition and how it can, we've talked about before, how it can be subtle and ways that you can tell the difference when you're going through a lot, because I feel like that's what was happening to you. You just had so much going on that it was very noisy internally. Yeah. How do you piece through that? How did you finally piece through it, or was it just your body finally, you were in touch enough to hear it? Yeah. I think it was like, okay, which battles are worth fighting the most right now? You know? Yeah. And I'm very much an advocate for others, and I'm an advocate for myself, but I also am not unaware to the fact that that's, something that you need to work on. Mm-hmm. Right? That's like a muscle you need to grow. That's not something that comes naturally to everybody. I think with where I was in life and where I was at on that journey of, you know, becoming fully independent, I had nobody to do it for me. Yeah. You know, I was solo in that. At that point, I hadn't developed a deep connection. So it was very much the thought process of, if I don't, who's going to do it for me? Nobody will. Nobody will. Nobody's going to do it for me. And that's the lesson too, is like, that's why it's so important. Even if you have somebody that's there to stick up for you or defend you or support you, you're still, at the end of the day, it's you and you. It was me and me. And so I needed to
it was an internal battle. Of course, it was like, do I? What is this going to do? And is it worth it? Mm-hmm. And at that point, I didn't have anything to lose.
Yeah.
You know? And I was also deciphering, like, out of everything that I experienced and witnessed and observed in that community, what was the most important to address? And for me, it's like my own sovereignty. Mm-hmm. Right? And so even if it's noisy, you have to have that intentional time of being like, okay, all of these things are happening. Let's address each feeling. And what do I need to focus on the most right now? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
It does. And you know, if this is let me know what you think about this statement.
I'm a warrior, baby.
Yeah, I feel like you really did get, on some level, the experience that you wanted to snap into your independence.
Exactly.
And you fucking snapped into your independence. My God. I mean, it was not pretty. And I'm not saying that's the lesson you wanted or that you were going for.
Let's go with
but
this.
It's like,
let's go with
it's
this.
like you were asking for independence and you were like, all right, I am woman, hear me roar. I am in control of my own body. Nope. This is fucked. You know, you had to be. You like had no other choice. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, you know, you were wanting to have an experience that was, like you said, love and light and butterflies and glitter and unicorn, which of course...
It was many parts were, honestly.
Many parts were.
Yes.
But you also needed that duality, right? And so it gave you that. Mm-hmm. And also just like moving into what it really means to be on a spiritual journey, which is what I feel when I hear this story, not to speak for it, how you felt about it, but it felt like a new spiritual journey anyway, a new connection with yourself, a deeper understanding of who you are and what your desires look like and how they can be manifested, you know, and that's, I feel like that's what you really went there for. And this experience helped you to be like, that's not it, you know, and now I am ready, you know, would you agree with that?
Oh, what! I'm so happy you brought this up because, you guys, I manifested all of this.
Yeah.
Consciously or unconsciously, what were my intentions of going into this, in and on this journey? Mm-hmm. Independence, financial stability, deeper connection, spiritual advancement, strength, power, like all of these things. I manifested all of this, all of it.
Yeah.
And you know, that can be tricky. I've thought about this many times. That can be really tricky to accept.
Navigate.
Right? To accept, to navigate for many people of like, oh, like I wanted to get here, so God gave me this, right? I wanted to love, so God gave me wounded people to help. I wanted strength, so God gave me hardship, right? It's like one of those famous quotes. I forget what it is. I wanted power, so I had to navigate all of that to ultimately know my own.
Yeah.
I wanted sovereignty, so all of these crazy ass wild experiences, and leave it to me and my soul's path for it to be like the most ridiculous stories. You know what I mean?
Oh, you know what it reminds me of? It's like you know when somebody goes like bungee jumping. It's like your bungee jump hits and scrapes for a while, and then you fly off, you know?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that was rough for a minute, but yay.
Yeah. My soul is like, you want evolution? Let me take you into the depths of the underworld so that you come out lighter than ever before. You know? You want power? Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to give you a whole lot of pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
So ultimately, I signed up for all of this.
Yeah.
And I'm on the other side. And I'm like, girl, I experienced dark magic. I dated somebody who, when he would get angry, called himself the fucking Antichrist, okay?
Yeah.
I was in bed with the devil. I also was living with a friend who ended up being a dark magic witch. So, yeah.
Okay, so next episode. Our one in the future.
Yeah. So the entire 5 to 6 months was this journey to the other side of what I believed spirituality was.
Yeah.
To bring awareness and to illuminate and to ultimately become the most powerful, spiritually advanced version of myself that I am today.
Yeah.
So I want to change
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that is such an incredible story. And I didn't even know all that. I've known parts, bits and pieces, did not know all that.
Yeah.
So this is new for me too, everyone. We got to experience that together.
I hope you enjoyed the journey, because that's exactly what it is. You enjoyed that visual storytelling. There's more to the Costa Rica Files that will be talked about soon.
Oh, I can't wait.
Dum, dum, dum.
And ultimately, I think for me, what I'm gleaning from this story is what's important for everybody who's listening and watching. For me, if you want to be intentional and you want to heal, whether it's plant medicine or a different kind of ceremony or being around a community, whatever it looks like, how important it is to know what you want, know what you desire, know why you're wanting to do these things, and so that you can really wrap your mind around, because this is powerful. This is so powerful, these medicines. Mm-hmm. And they give you access to different parts of your consciousness and the universe. I mean, like you said, it just really opens you up. And what's the most important thing is taking care of yourself. Always the most important thing. And so I'm hearing from you, Dani, that really you sharing this story is for us to have this as a roadmap moving forward for how to have a beautiful experience.
How to facilitate, how to hold.
Exactly. Because at some point we should talk about how both of us have experienced beautiful plant medicine experiences. How we've probably, most of us listening have experienced maybe it wasn't plant medicine or it was drugs or something, but you've done something when you weren't in a place and it wasn't the time, and you played around with something that took you somewhere you didn't want to go.
Back trip. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's a lot that we can learn from this story, and there's a lot of lessons in advocacy for yourself, and how even when it's scary, doing the right thing for yourself, and
right.
And I think that can be something that in the past, I know I have plenty of experiences where I learned I was never going to do that again, and where unfortunately you do go through things that show you what's not right, sometimes to learn what is. Mm-hmm. So I'm just so thankful you shared that story with us, because I know that's a lot to remember.
Yeah, I mean, it's a part of my purpose. So, yeah, I have no doubt, no fear, no more lingering pain or anger around it. It's really, really helped me to step into who I am today and to be incredibly fearless. And just to add on to the self-advocacy part, because I really think that is a huge part of this, right? Is to continue to stand up and lean into what you feel is right for you, nobody else. And when I would express things, like, it's not like they were doing anything to hurt me because I was speaking my truth. They might have tried to cast some spells or psychically attack me, yes, but ultimately you're never going to be met with the level of resistance or negativity that you feel you're going to be met with when you advocate for yourself and you speak up for yourself.
Yeah, it's true.
So, and even if you are, what are somebody else's words to you?
Exactly.
If you know who you are.
And you're right. So often when you do stand up, people aren't expecting assertion.
They're not. They're not at all.
Yeah, so they're hoping they can get away with it too. And nobody can force you to do anything ultimately that you don't want to do. And obviously there are situations if somebody was to overtake you or control you, you know, but if you have the ability to get out, just always know that it's the right choice, and always people who know that it's, you know, what's best for you will always support you. And those who don't agree with you when you say, no, I have to be done with this, those are not your people. And I know we say that a lot too. Mm-hmm. Those are really good signs. And so even if it doesn't have to make sense for them, it doesn't you don't have to convince people that's why something is not right for you. If you just say it's not right for you, that's the end of the conversation. Okay. Yeah, please go feel safe. People who love you, people who care about you, they'll always want you to go feel safe. So, well, Dani, I think we're going to have multiple files within the Costa Rica Files.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much in depth I was going to go with this story, but I think it was needed. So,
I think so too.
We will get to twin flame, false twin flame, dark magic shaman another time.
Yeah, another time. Well, Dani, thank you so much for sharing today. And oh, by the way,
thank you for listening. I talked a lot.
Oh, well, this was perfect. You know, we talked a little bit about how these episodes tend to go, and one of our points that we want to make sure we touch on for this podcast is storytelling, which we talked about the other day. We want to share stories every once in a while that can help illuminate learning opportunities for others, or even just conversations that we can all have, because again, we are creating a safe community. And so we want to do this. And so this was a beautiful storytelling moment. I was here to experience it and learn. So I just am so grateful that you were willing to have, you know, gone through that experience and then talk about it.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that.
Of course. And the last little thing that I will say around plant medicine is it is a tool. It is not an escape. Like I said earlier, you want to make sure that you do the work and you feel safe in all of the aspects of the journey that you're going to go on, and that you're not overdoing it, doing it multiple times a year and never integrating. You will know when the time is right for you to begin, and you will know when the time is right for you to start or to stop. And it's not, these are incredibly powerful tools. And you have to know you can have an amazing experience, and you can also have the opposite of that. It can be light and it can be dark. Both in both of those experiences, you will learn a lot, and you will heal a lot, and you will grow a lot. But do not force or push like I did.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a beautiful way to end. And I couldn't agree more. I think this is potentially, this is even a conversation that I think we've actually talked about wanting to have, just talking about plant medicine altogether. So also let us know if you want us to talk about that, which I think we're going to anyway. So if you agree, let us know. And thank you for tuning in and listening and being a part of this conversation. By the way, I did want to note, if you guys hear like shaking in the background or like thumping, my dog Dexter, who's a Doberman, he flops really hard and walks around sometimes in here. So, but I really like him being in here. So please don't hate the noises. Just know it's the sweetest, most beautiful
Angel.
Doberman, angel baby that you'll ever meet in your life. And I do fear sometimes he'll bark, but anyway, so that's what that noise is. So, and then also I do want to mention, Dave told me that we need to make sure we always tell people, if this is helpful to you at all, please share this with your friends who are, especially your friends who are traveling, especially with your friends who are wanting to have plant medicine experiences or go to retreats that, maybe they need to be asking questions about. And, so share with your friends, and plenty of episodes you can go listen to, maybe if those help, and then like and subscribe and just hang out with us. We want to continue to have this be a conversation. So let us know what you think.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to say for this podcast. How about you, Dani?
Yeah. And if you are looking for facilitators and helpers and coaches to support your journey on going into a facilitation, going into a plant medicine journey, and you're looking for the right questions to ask or how to cultivate that safety and that energetic safety and soul safety from within, reach out to us, reach out to me. My Instagram, that's something that I will be creating as well, is how to set yourself up for success and find the right space for you. And might as well plug a little bit. We've got retreats coming. We've got retreats coming soon. I've got my own personal ones, and the Shift Flow will eventually be having retreats. So just let that seed plant in your mind, because sooner rather than later, you will be able to find a space where you can truly be yourself, you can express, you can be held, and you can be safe. So.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. I really look forward to those. Okay, and everyone. Go ahead, what?
I was going to say, and you can get naked.
Yes. Feel like we'll come in before the ceremony, like, so guys, here's the deal. Oh man, that's funny.
Thank you guys.
All right, see you guys. Mwah!
Mwah!